Hey, Justin Bieber, how we doing? Welcome back, everyone. Tonight, I figured I was going to go back to C# WPF, Material Design in XAML. I've ignored it for a little bit, working on other projects, and figured I would circle back. There's been a whole bunch of questions and discussion items that have come up, and I figured I would help answer. There's always the common question that comes up from people of, hey, when's the next release? Is the following feature going to get in? And I've usually had the same answer of, I'm one person. I love pull requests, but I always happy to take more from people. So if there is a hot ticket item, I always love it if people submit things. But with that said, I also understand that it's sometimes intimidating to contribute to projects, and I have to just balance time. So, but tonight I figured I would go through, help answer some questions, put some samples together. I may do something a little different on this video. I was contemplating chopping this one up into a bunch of individual shorts and posting those to YouTube. That way I could link to the individual bits. We'll see. That implies I have time to edit videos, which also may not be a true statement. But with that said, let's dive in, because hopefully I found that oftentimes when I've answered questions like this, people have found the answers later, and that's helped to answer and mitigate future questions. So this one came up here of text box mode for currency, money, or format. And this kind of question or request comes up in a lot of different ways. And a lot of times it comes up from people coming from a WinForms background or a Windows Forms background, where in Windows Forms there's a built-in control called a masked text box. And so oftentimes you'll see that term pop up and get thrown around a lot. WPF doesn't have one, at least not natively out of the box, which is somewhat disappointing. And even with that said, the masked text box in Windows Forms had some limitations. How can you do it? And you'll see this pull up. In this case, this one is particularly looking for currency. Sometimes people are looking for phone numbers or credit card number forms, basically something to hint to the user, hey, I want to accept only the following, characters, and they need to be in the following format, and yada, yada, yada. Great. So let's do it. So short version, even though this was posted on the material design one, there is not a built-in thing for the material design project. However, there are options for doing this. So and I will drop a link to this real quick. So blah, 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 examples, boom. So I have a repository. It's named Material Design in XAML examples. And most of these do follow material design stuff. But it also has a bunch of just general stuff. Most of it's WPF. There's some EF in here. There's some OpenCV. Let's see what else in here. There's WPF toolkit. There's some handful of utilities things. Some Skia Sharp. I thought there was a command line thing in here too. There's all kinds of stuff. Most of it's WPF. Most of it's material design in XAML. Meh. But I just throw things in here as I put together samples for people. So there's a lot of projects in here. So in this case, we're going to do text box. So let's new project this beast. And let's go. Oh yeah, I've been playing with WinUI. Still very much on the fence with it. Also, on that note, if anybody has a WinUI 3 example of an unpackaged deployment, I'd love to see it. I am struggling. Specifically, unpackaged deployment. Basically, I want to be able to invoke the exe on the command line and have the app start. So let's do masked text box. And, let's go back. That's not quite the directory. I want to nest that thing down a level. Text box. Yeah, go there. Next. Yeah, we'll do net 6. Okay. Step 1, restore all the dependencies, do all the things. Okay. And because I can't tolerate the default templates, I just got to clean them up real quick. Boom, boom, boom. Those are all done. Much better. Okay. So step 1, we are going to, well, let's start with the obvious. This one, the request here was for, so let's just do a stack panel. Hey, Why'd you forget? And we'll do, let's see, a text block with some text. Enter currency. Sure, good enough. We're making it up as we go. And then there's going to be a text box. And then we're going to need to do some stuff with it. Okay, great. Perfect. Okay, so step 1, manage Nuget package. And for this one, I think what we're going to do is we're going to go powwow with MAApps. So for people not familiar with it, MAApps might be the biggest WPF library out there. I don't know for a fact. It definitely more downloads than Material Design and XAML. But does it show? I don't think it shows if I open it on Nuget.org. It's total 5.4 million. So yeah, it's pretty popular. Okay, so let's pick on this guy. So we're going to add in MAApps, and I'm just grabbing latest stable 2.4.9. And this guy brings in a couple things, and one of which is what is called a behavior inside of WPF. So typically with the mass text box, inside of the, or I should back up, inside of the Material Design and XAML library, you can get the hint text, right? And you can have it float up and down. Typically, that's not what people are looking for. They're looking to do a little more filtering of the stuff. Oh, I just noticed my neck is getting a nice purple light from the LEDs on my tower. That's exciting. We'll deal with the purple neck. Okay, so what we want to do here is text box, and then I think what we want is, let's see, behaviors. Are you gonna not autocomplete for me? I need to go look up the Let's go back here, open, and then project website. This guy here, because I'm pretty sure down in this guy is, where is it? Orderless window, reload. Let me look. Maybe I'm getting confused. There was a Yeah. So it got pushed down a level. That's why. Got it. Mass input behavior. Hey, Rosnellen, I think. Welcome aboard. Oh, perfect. I just made the connection. The original poster. So I am making a bit of an assumption on your question that what you are looking for is a text box input, something similar to this, where it effectively limits the input, but specifically for currency to enter an amount or similar. Is that accurate? If that helps. So actually what I want is this guy. Yes, is limited. Okay, perfect. I resolved it with regex. Okay, perfect. I am going to post a sample that is going to be a little different, but probably pretty close to what you are looking for. So this guy is what we want. So I actually want the Control-ZX library. So, and I technically have it included with MAApps here, but I'm going to dial it down. I try to keep these samples as small and as targeted as possible. Oh, what are you doing, Visual Studio? No, go away. I don't want you. So let's see. Let's dial this guy back just a little bit. So uninstall that, and then we're going to grab the Control-ZX library directly. This guy. Great. Okay, so let's come in here and then, so this is the masked input behavior. So this is a behavior inside of WPF, and I don't know if they put samples in this repository or not. Let's take a quick look. I think they do. They do kind of show it in their demo. This will probably work. Not that. That's what I'm looking for. So this is effectively what we want to do. Let's come over here. We're going to do that. And then bring in the appropriate namespace. So the behaviors namespace isn't something specific to the Control-ZX library. You can see this one here. It's just schemas.micro.com XAML behaviors. But this particular derived class is. And now when we compile, this guy should just exist and work. Let's just make sure. I probably should have compiled this whole thing beforehand. And then in our case, we're going to change this up. And so we're going to do something. It's going to be a little bigger. And let's jump back here to their README, because I think this will show you the patterns that are supported in here. And obviously you could take this, if this behavior doesn't do exactly what you're looking for, you can certainly either derive from it or make your own implementation. So let's see. It doesn't show these guys here on what it's looking for. That's the full implementation. Kind of looking for something that shows the actual mass text box. Don't make me go all the way to the WinForms docs. And I would like this to be, change the language, please. So this guy here, let's see, through the mask property, and I believe one of these actually shows the format for this, because there's particular characters that you can specify that it will swap out. But okay. I don't know what you're squawking about. Verify that you're not missing an assembly reference. Oh, I am still missing an assembly reference, because I still need to include the Control-ZX library. Okay, so we're going to do something like that. And let's make this visible. And then let's just vertical alignment center, horizontal alignment center. How about width of 200? Something about like that. Okay, and then we're going to change this up to be, I think we can do something like that. We probably want to change the input mask to be something a little different, but let's go here, let's go here. And please start up, please work. Of course you work. Okay. So that's a little tiny. We'll go for a zoom approach. Whoop, there we are. So you end up getting something a little better, where it just ends up with some blank spots there. If we go to type, let's see. Turn Karnak on so people can actually see what I'm typing. If we come in here, I can type numbers. If I try to type letters, like, people can't hear the dinging, but I'm getting the little Windows ding saying, hey, letters aren't acceptable. You must type numerics and fill these in. And I believe, I want to look this up. That is what I was going to look, because 0 is an exact match. There is a different character for arbitrary number, and I don't remember what it is. which defines the syntax of the masking language discussed on the documentation for the mask property. Perfect. Let's see. There we are. Digit required. Generated as a space, plus or minus, built-in functionality. Yeah, and this provider is what's being used under the hood for this behavior to generate it. So there's not a control, but you can certainly reference the same provider for this. So I think what we're looking for here is something more akin to #0 and then restart. And let's see here. So no, that's still limiting the number of characters. Where's the 0 or more? Let's see. Character, alphanumeric, decimal placeholder, great. Thousands placeholder, time separator, currency symbol. Yeah, we got all that already. Shift down, shift up. All other characters literal. Digit or space optional. So I think what we want to then end up doing is something more like that, only without an 8. And I'm realizing this thing is not updating on the fly, which is a little disappointing, so we'll just restart it. And then I believe you can end up getting... It is a little obnoxious that it doesn't push to the left. Today I discovered the flame icon in Visual Studio to refresh the changes in C#. Yes, the hot reload, which is wonderful. Similar to the hot reload for XAML, you are somewhat limited in how many changes you can make, but yeah, in a lot of cases, it's pretty nice. So aside from this thing not auto-pushing the characters over, this is probably the closest built-in functionality that you're going to end up getting. If you just want validation and you don't care to prompt the user down here, you could certainly do the validation with the material design library. So, and I will point that out as well. Because I know you said you solved it with regex, so I'm assuming that means you solved it with the validation on the back side. Because you could certainly do text fields, themes, tabs, toggles. Oh, is it just fields? Yeah, I always get tripped up by this. Yeah, so solved it with validation because because you can do if you're doing bindings for MVVM, you can go with validation rules as well and do something like that in C# code with a method event. Oh, okay, so you're catching like the key press events and validating it there, I assume. Because we could look at, let's demo this one real quick. This one won't prevent key presses though, which is one of the minor issues. This would only prevent the value from going through, not necessarily the key press. Though I suppose you could delete the key after the fact. That gets weird. I don't recommend that approach. So, for what it is worth, is that helpful, Roz Nelson? I don't know if there's necessarily a great option available. But if you want to limit what can be typed, you do end up with something similar to that. I will say, if you are interested, or specifically, if you end up with multiple text boxes where you want that same sort of limited events, a behavior in WPF is a great way of being able to share that kind of logic. I think I have other behaviors in here. Yeah, so we can look at this one. So if you want to write your own behavior, it's pretty simple. You just derive from the behaviors class. So you would end up deriving from behavior text box. And then inside of the onAttached, you would do the same method logic like what you did in your code behind. You would just put it in here instead. And then you could attach that behavior to any text boxes that you wanted that same logic to. Define text box input restrictions. Ah, okay, so this one was with an attached property. Yeah, so it ends up watching the key down events. It is mildly annoying that they have to remove the paste event handler here. Because that is one of the drawbacks when you're watching key down events. People often forget that there's more than one way to get text into a text box. Specifically, the paste option or drag, like even in WPF, you can actually drag text into a box, and the key down events will not catch those. But this effectively disables that behavior. But that is also, it can feel a little annoying to some users. Especially if they're wanting to paste things in. Currency is probably not a big issue, but like it always bothers me every time some program or website disables the paste on like the password field, because I want to use my password manager and they restrict my ability to do so. But this is actually quite good. If you want to, go ahead and post a link to this on that discussion. Like I said, I feel like a lot of people end up finding these discussions after the fact, and so knowing what the solutions were can oftentimes be rather helpful for people. This looks rather nice. Kent Bogart. I don't recognize the name. Cool. Okay. I was going to just pick on some other ones. Sweet. Yeah, and I was planning on at least putting a link to this video onto that discussion as well. If again, just as a way for if people want to find it and find it useful. I'm trying to decide if maybe attacking some of these bugs might be helpful, or I don't have strong opinions. Let's take a look. Some of these are probably quick and easy to pick off. Let's see. And indeed the feature is missing. Let's take a look at the milestone before I get too carried away. Let's see what I've thrown in there. Because this 4.6 milestone has been slowly growing. Let's see, broken flipper. Oh, we could go back to the flipper stuff. Oh, yuck, 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 yuck. And this one I also know is a yuck, yuck, yuck one. I keep punting on it because I don't want to look at it. This is probably an easy one to fix. Yeah. So after updating from version 4.3 to 4.4, tree view without sub elements is no longer indented, like this, which is kind of obnoxious when this is what's so this is on a tree view item. Otherwise it creates a ghost minimum height. So I want to make sure we don't flip-flop on this, but let's double check. It should be when a tree view item doesn't have any child items, the expander should be collapsed. Otherwise it creates a ghost. Given this tree view, this is interesting. I want to double check this because I assume I know what the change was here. Yeah, it's just a toggle between these two, and I agree. This isn't ideal, and I think the issue is no matter how this gets solved, it's going to be a breaking change. So let's just fix this and make this problem go away for everybody. Okay. I don't always like the idea of just throwing toggles at things to fix it, but let's make a toggle. Okay, step 1, open Git Kraken, because that's, yeah, let's add this in. Adding in mast text box behavior example. Boom, because I know that's come up. There goes that. Okay, and then let me just make sure I'm on latest. Of course I'm not. Do I care about this change? This is where we were looking at the tab control. I do not care about this change. Throw it away. Pull master, switch branch. Boom. So much quicker in Git Kraken. So much quicker. We love you, Git Kraken. Okay, so let's start with the obvious one. I want to double check the demo app first, and let's make sure that we have a reasonable sample. And let's get this back in place. Because I think throwing in a, well, that's figuring out what it's doing. We're just gonna sit here. What are you? Oh, you're the, I left that running. Okay, close, you go, minimize. Okay, so if we go trees. Okay, so this does have a sample of it. And I'd actually even posit that this is not a perfect option either, because this thing here has more. So here, demonstration. So this guy here appears to expand all the way to there, and this guy only expands to here. There's a general rule in UI design that says if you kind of draw the implicit vertical lines between all your elements, you want as few vertical lines in your UI to get a good clean layout. The problem is there'd be one vertical line along this right side, good, but these two left sides are not lined up, and so you end up with two kind of nested lines. And when you get those, when you start drawing those implicit dotted lines all over the place, it really starts to show the messy or busy UI areas tend to have a lot of really close together vertical lines. So separate them. And I would argue that this indentation is not, if it was going to be unindented, I would expect it to go all the way out. And I'm a little curious to look at Snoop here real quick, because I'm curious how far out this tree item goes. Oh, interesting. There's a, I don't know if people can see that. The focus rectangle for the tree view is here. And so you can see this item goes to the edge. And I would expect unindented, this item should back out all the way to here. It doesn't make sense to me that it wouldn't nest all the way in. It's weird that these nest the way they do, but regardless. Okay, Snoop, I don't actually need you anymore. Okay, so let's go through and look at what this might look like to fix. So one, I do think turning it back to the previous behavior is appropriate. But I also think that we might need to do an attached property to clean some of this up. Okay, so a couple things I'm going to just start doing right out the gate, because these are cool features to show off. Okay, so few things so latest C#. I'm not going to do a big bang change on these, but I am going to slowly start editing files as I come across them. So the material design project always is going to use latest C# versions. So I'm sorry, everybody who doesn't run latest Visual Studio, I can't help you. The library will still be usable on older Visual Studios and older frameworks, but the code itself is going to use latest and greatest tooling. So a couple things in C#. One, file scope namespaces are awesome. I don't know if you caught it at the end. There used to be two curly braces. All you do is you type semicolon, the curly braces go away, and they unindent. And these are, from a compiled assembly standpoint, these are identical. The only disadvantage of the new file scope namespace feature is that you can't have multiple namespaces in the same file. And rarely should you ever have multiple namespaces in the same file. That's kind of an unusual use case. The next thing that we're going to leverage is something called a global using, because these kind of using statements show up all over the place, and we don't need to include them on every single file. So there's a couple things you can do. You can turn on implicit usings just at the project level. So was it using, was it enable default usings or something? Let's see, enable.NET analyzers. What is it? The using statements. Regardless, I don't want the defaults, so we're not going to use them anyway. But the other option that I've been favoring a great deal is something more akin to this. So if we do an item group, we can then slap in, oh man, I've got different, I've got different indentation settings on this Visual Studio. Oh, I don't like it. I don't like it. Okay. So we're going to go with using include system. Now, because I've put this in my directory build props, every single project in my solution now has a global using for system, which means this thing has a global using for system. So once I compile this guy, you're going to watch this little guy disappear, which is amazing. You start getting really lazy with this feature real fast, which is great. Okay, come on. Compile, find it. Come on, don't make a liar out of me. Yeah, so I don't know if people saw it. That thing now goes gray because it is generating a file for me with something that has, so the global using syntax just looks like that. You just slap the word global on it. But I don't want to write a file with all the global using statements in it. So we're just going to do this so that I don't have to include any of these. 5, and then as I slowly edit other files, because I have a habitual my fingers habitually want to clean up using statements. This will just make them all go away, which makes me incredibly happy. And because this is done in your a build props file or a CSproj file, you can then use MS build to actually control it. So if you want to have different usings based upon a target framework, you can do that. If you want to remove some, you can do that. And it works really great. I've contemplated actually going as far as adding a feature to the Nuget package where you could just set something in your CSproj. And actually, this might be interesting. So if you could do something like use default material design usings, this is probably way too big of a name, and set it to true in your CSproj, would people want something like this? Because with a property like this, if you set it to true, I could go through and generate out global using statements for you for every namespace in the project. And as long as you didn't have any other classes with conflicting names, this just works. And you no longer need using statements in your project for the material design project. Now, I obviously wouldn't turn it on by default because that could be a massive pain in the neck for everybody. But it would mean that with a single CSproj property, I could clean them all up for everybody. Or did I miss system.txt? I did. Text comes after IO, right? Yeah. There. So we'll do that. We'll do that. And then all of you guys go away. Now I don't need any of that. Okay, so I think what we're going to do, though, is we're going to add in a attached property for, just grab this, for dealing with that collapse state. I think that's where we're going. Tree view. Okay, we're just gonna clean stuff up as we go. Let's clean that up, clean that up. You go small again. Okay, so let's go back real quick and just take a quick look-see, because it was very conveniently linked here. This guy, so 329. 329. So this guy here is the change that ended up doing it. So now the question is, what should the name of the attached property be? Because we're going to have, I think we're just going to make it a visible, well, let's start with this. So let's call it empty. What's the condition? Because it triggers on has items. So it should have something with has items in it. Has items. It's no items. Expander visibility. It's long and obnoxious, but that's probably okay. Expander, because I don't want to do has items visibility, because this is explicitly going to check false. Yeah, let's go there. I think that's what we're going to go with, something like that. And it's going to not be a bool, it's going to be a visibility enum. Let's see, so we're going to do that. That, grab the visibility enum, there, and then default value. I think we're going to default this guy to hidden and go back to the old behavior, because I believe that is closer to correct. Okay. And just to be explicit about it, we're going to come up here and do setter property, tree view assist. Nope. That's not what I want. That one. Value hidden. So if anybody wants to override this, they can just come in onto this material design tree view item thing and assign it. Yeah, so I think we're going to do that. And then we're going to come 329. This guy here is going to get binding, relative source, because I'm inside of a, I guess this is in the control template thing, so we can just do self. Yeah, because we can do effectively the same thing that's being done right here in order to reference it. Because self in this case, because we're at the control template level, will be applied to the tree view item. So then the path, and then the parens here are just because we are referencing an attached property. So if you need to reference an attached property as part of a binding path, you wrap it in parens to denote that. just for anybody who needs to do it. Boom. Okay, so that's going to grab there. So this is going to set the value based upon the attached property value on the material design tree view item here. The last thing I think I want to do is set this up so that, because I think you want to actually set it on the tree view itself. Because I don't think you want to assign this on individual items. That gets kind of annoying. So where is the item? Is it not set on? Ah, really? We just implicitly let those be figured out, huh? I'm a little surprised at that. Setter, property, item, container style. I sort of anticipated this being set on it. I'm a little surprised it isn't. We're gonna set it because I'm trying to think if this is gonna break anybody. Oh, it could. Maybe I shouldn't do. Maybe I shouldn't set that. Okay, so let's come up here. Default that guy there. And then we want this thing to actually reach up and grab it. So, similar to what like these ones do, where they reach up and grab the higher level ones, but I think we want this guy to just we're going to do something very similar, but I think we're going to reach all the way to the tree view. So, binding, let's see, relative source, ancestor type, tree view, and then the path here is going to be the same. Let's see, WPF. My head's in the way. My big fat head's in the way. There we go. Path. Let's see, tree view assist. Grab that there. Okay, so that should work. And then let's do. Let's do a test for this real quick. So let me also double check, because I've been putting out a lot of updates on my XAML test one. This is up to date, huh? Really? 15 days ago, 264. Wow. I'm Johnny on the spot. Didn't realize I had done that. Okay. Let me just double check while I'm in here. Those things are all updated to latest. Cool. We don't need anything there. Let's go in. Do we have a tree view? We do not. So add new folder, previews. Okay. So I've done a couple streams on this other project before, but my XAML test library it's sort of a unit test library for XAML-y stuff. So we're just going to come in here and I'm just going to steal one of these, and I'm going to go with add class review test. Boom. Okay, isn't this beautiful? All those usings. Don't need any of them. But what we're gonna do real quick is because I'm adding in usings. System collections generic. And these are, if you do turn on, there is a property you can set that will turn on default using statements. And there's half a dozen or so that get added for you. Let's see. System collections generic goes there. We probably want link included everywhere. Boom. Include link everywhere. Not gonna look at you for a minute. Text and tasks. Oh, we definitely want tasks included everywhere. Definitely want tasks included everywhere. Running tasks. Yeah, so system collections generic link text tasks. Great. So aside from the fact that I've got my editor settings messed up, perfect. Okay, so and then we're just gonna file scope namespace that guy. So much cleaner. So much cleaner. I love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Let's see, and then I'm just going to steal some stuff from my other bits. Let's see, we go with a test base. I need a constructor. Let's see. That, let's see. Why one include have semicolons and the others don't? Oh, did I put a semicolon on them? They don't need semicolons. The code that it's generating, though, will put a semicolon on the end of it. So those extra semicolons are ending up just being duped, and double semicolon still compiles. So it works. Good catch, though. Thank you. The other thing I'm going to do is, so inside of my test project, because this just makes me happy. So for example, inside of my UI test project, there's a few additional ones that I probably want included everywhere, right? Using, import group, that's not right. Let's try that again. Item group. Great. And then we'll go using, include. So for example, I'm going to be using XUnit everywhere. Include that, right? I want all of my stuff to be using this abstractions interface, so I'm going to have this using statement everywhere. Let's see. I'm going to be referencing XAML test pretty much everywhere in this project, so we're just going to bring in XAML test as well. Right, so any of these that, let's see, XAML test alphabetically should come first. Anything else in here? You know what? Pretty much all of these are going to be referencing material design, so let's include that one too. And that one alphabetically goes first. I'm surprised Windows input isn't in the global includes over here. It's not, so boom. So that should pretty much clear out every single one of those using statements. So since I'm looking at this file, we'll just clean it up. Boom, done. Okay, and then if we come back down to UI tests, I'm just going to fix my bad indentation because my editor settings are wrong, and away we go. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Tree view tests. Okay. We're happy. Now we can write a test. And actually, I guess I should jump back to these a little bit. So if we want to just steal from one of these, yeah, so we can do something like this. Boom. Copy. Paste. Okay, so what are we testing? We are testing this tree view assist. Changes visibility on expander. And then I usually just like to throw a description on here for calling out the item that required it. So if we look here, I think calling out 2618 is probably a worthwhile thing, because future Kevin will not remember what he was thinking tonight, even with a video to remind me. So We're going to do that. And then I'm just going to grab, a little bit of this. Okay, so this is going to go here, this is going to go here, and then we're going to do something like this. So this is going to be a tree view, and I want to grab a tree view with some stuff in it. So we're going to grab a tree view, none of you matter, and this little test recorder thingy, all it does is if the test fails, so if it throws an exception before getting to this success, it grabs a screenshot. Because when you're testing the UI bits, sometimes that's helpful. Preview. Okay, so now we just got to figure out what the XAML needs to look like for our test. So, what are you squawking about here? Checked in. One or more projects. Did you just get messed up when I was doing this? Reload them. There you go. You should be happy. You shouldn't be unhappy. Okay, so we're going to just steal a little bit of XAML from our demo app, I think. Trees. Let's just take a quick look-see in here. So I think what we can do is something like this. And we'll just set up a tree view with some items. Yeah, so we'll just set up a tree view with a handful of items. I think we might just write this test straight. Okay, so inside of XAML test, the nice part is we can just start writing XAML. Tree view. Okay, and then we're gonna do tree view item, header, let's see, no children, how about item 1? There, that sounds good. And then we're going to do a couple things. So I want to do one default. That's 3, 4. And then actually let's get the first ones going. So I want to test the default to make sure it behaves the way I expect. I then want to test the let's see. I want to test the default, I want to test visible, I want to test collapsed. Yeah, so we can do material design. Bam, 423. Thank you very much. I appreciate the follow. Okay, so let's do there, and we're going to do tree view assist. So tree view assist, and then our property name, that big long ugly string. Oh, and I just said that I wanted this guy to be the first one to be the default case. So this is going to be the non-default case. So we'll do hidden, which should end up looking the same. We'll do one for collapsed, which should be that. So hidden, collapsed, and you know what? While we're in here, let's just test the visible case. No one's asking for it, but it's a visibility union. Should work. Okay, and then we're going to test all these same cases, only with a child item on each of them. Right, so because if there's a child, it should always have it there. Right, so this is going to be 5 because this was supposed to be 4. Child. Then that guy. So we really just want to tack this onto the end of each of these. Boom. Why is my paste trimming stuff off? Did I just not copy appropriately? Copy, paste. Interesting that it formatted like that. Okay. Okay. I'm not entirely sure how that worked. Okay, so 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so that should work. So item 1 we expect hidden, 2 we expect hidden, 3 collapsed, 4 through 8 we expect visible. Okay, so let's pull them out. So tree view, get element, and we can actually do get element preview item, and I believe it's element query. Let's see, property. I didn't do an index expression. I think we can just do this. Var item 1. Maybe it's better to pull it by header. Maybe let's pull it by header. So property expression. Yeah, so this is preview item. X lambda X header with the value of item 1. That's a lot of typing. That's a lot of typing. Let's pull this out. We want to isolate that. Let's isolate that. Visual element preview item, get item with header, bring header, boom, and then we're just going to do header, that, possible null reference, tree view may be null here. No, it won't. Shut up. There. Do that, and then I can just query all of them, and that makes it look a lot cleaner. Great. Okay, so assert equal visibility, and we expect hidden on the default. Await item 1, get visibility. Oh, this is the visibility of the item. I want its expander. Let's take a quick look. Where is that in the control template? I assume I can probably just pull the only yeah, it's name. I could either pull it by toggle button. It's probably the only toggle button. So I could either pull it by type or by name. I don't know which one I feel is less fragile. Pull by no, let's pull it by type. Get expander for header. Expander for header. Okay. So we're going to make this guy do a little bit more work for us. See? Local function for the win. Okay, so var item gets await. Oh, I need to make you async. Boom. And then we want to return item get element. So this will search only from the tree view item down. Toggle button. That looks remarkably like a using statement I want to include in my globals. So, sorry, small detour. Global usings are very cool. And then paste. Okay. That goes there, that goes there. Get element. We await that, and away we go. So this needs to be toggle button. Now this works. Yeah, so we can probably just do expander. So that's going to be a little more workable, and then we can just pretty much repeat this all the way down for each of our assertions, right? So 2 we expect hidden as well, so that should work. For 3 we expect collapsed. For 4 we expect visible. Not that anybody wants that feature, but it's there if you want it. 5 all the way down, and actually here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to copy this because 5, 6, 7, 8 are all going to be the same. 6, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8. Okay. That looks to me like it's going to work. We're just going to run it and see what happens. I'm not entirely sure where it's going to pop the window. So the wonderful thing about XAML test is it actually, the way it works is it spins a WPF app shell up as a separate process and then dumps your content into it. So unlike regular unit tests that go against, let me back up. To test WPF, the way a lot of people do it is they will do like an STA thread, whether that's with an extension of XUnit like STA fact or similar, because you need a UI thread in order to even instantiate something like a window. What XAML test does instead is it spins a shell and injects your content into it. The problem with the STA thread approach is you end up testing it in a use case that doesn't really match how things are expected to work, which can be a little bit problematic. Okay, so test failed. So we'll figure out why. So which one of you lovely assertions failed? Sorry, don't do this. XAML tree view item start tag does not contain. I missed a closing brace somewhere. Close, close, close. Oh, all of these are supposed to be self-closed, and they are not. Oh, okay, so let's try that again. Yeah, so when you spin it up with just an STA thread and create your content, you end up testing a use case that isn't really realistic of how your code is going to work, especially if something requires like the rendering pipeline to actually see it all happen. Let's just do that, make it look pretty. Okay, so you failed again, but what did you fail on now? See, this is why we write tests. Expected collapse, actual hidden. So something didn't work the way we expect. Which expected collapsed on item 3 actually was hidden. So we specified, oh, this is interesting. So we're specifying these on, I just realized this is actually kind of an interesting problem, because even though we're specifying this, we're specifying it on the tree view item and we really want to test it up on the tree view. Both cases should work though. Both cases should work, because when you specify it on the item itself, what should happen is this guy here, this binding that was reaching up to the tree view, should get overridden on that particular item. But apparently it didn't, because for some reason item 3 we expected collapsed and we got a hidden back. So somehow that didn't do what we expected. This guy here, I recently added in a flag and I'm trying to remember where I put it. It's on the start remote call, and I don't, where's the app getting built? Where do you get set up? There it is. There's where I want it. Initialize async. Start remote. Let's see here. So there's an overload on here for new app options. Let me just slap that in. Log message gets this guy. So I'm just switching to this overload because this one has a few extra flags on it that I would like to leverage. Well, I guess I didn't need the lambda. And this is allow Visual Studio Debugger attach. We are going to set that to false. It defaults to true. And in this case, I don't want... So normally when you fire up XAML test, it'll actually let you debug into that WPF host that it spins up. So if it sees your Visual Studio Debugger attached to the running process, it'll automatically attach to the other process as well. And in this case, we don't actually want that, because what I would like to do is I would like to slap a little itty bitty breakpoint right there and then debug this test. And so because it's a separate process, it'll just leave that other one hanging out on the other side, which is great. That's kind of what we want. Okay, so, well, it has accurately caught that that is not collapsed, because I would expect this one to be unindented, and it's not. Let's investigate this further. Why are you not unindented? So we're going to come into here, review item, review assist. So this is in fact, so the attached property is correct, but the expander inside of it did not get the appropriate visibility set on it. Hidden. So it has a binding. This is binding it to its... Oh, this isn't right. This is setting this... Okay, so if we delve this binding... Okay, so if we dive into this binding, we should be able to see this relative source here is pointed at the self, and self in this case is going to end up being the toggle button, not the tree view item. Okay, so we need to fix that. See? Beautiful. A test caught a bug. This is what we expect. This is what we expect. Yay. Yay, testing. So relative source, this actually needs to be templated parent. So this, by default, this is mode templated parent, if that's not obvious. But you can actually just drop mode equals because it's the default. Okay, so now run the tests again. Let's take a look at what happened. And then test explorer. Goal! Okay. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. Okay, I think the last thing I want to do is one other similar but not quite the same test where we do a theory has no set on tree view, changes visibility on expanders. Okay, and then this is going to take in visibility, and we're just going to do inline data. And we'll do visibility visible, hidden, and collapsed. So we'll just rip through all these, and actually let's put visible at the end because it's frankly the least valuable of all of them. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this guy here. Okay. I copied the text. Something, I'm starting to think that my add-in for the XAML add-in is making my life miserable. Like, it's detecting it and failing to paste appropriately, which is really, really annoying. I realize it's a little uncommon for people to be pasting XML inside of a C# string, but still really annoying. Okay, so we're going to just change this guy up to use the parameter. And then really we only have, I think, 2 cases, right? Has child, doesn't have child. So we'll do no child, has child, and then this becomes has child, and this is always visible regardless. Just going to get rid of all of these guys down here, and this guy is no child, and his visibility should match the visibility of the passed in attached property. So if it's set at the tree view, we expect this guy's expander visibility to track with this. And if it's not set, and if it does have a child, we expect it to always be visible. That seems reasonable. Boom. You saw probably the 3 flashes go through as it executed each of these cases, but conveniently, they all passed. So, works as designed. Excellent, 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 excellent. Okay, so this is going to handle all of that. Let's just check let's start with this. So create branch, fix, and I already forgot my issue number, 2618, paste. Okay, and then let's just review, because we always review our changes. Okay, so one thing I will call out here too. So one, I'm using GitKraken. Love my GitKraken. But you'll note this file scope namespace. Some people get a little twitchy on this change, specifically because normally what happens is you get a diff that looks like this. And they go, well, I don't want to switch to file scope namespace. It means anybody who reviews my PR is going to have to see this big major diff. Pro tip, turn on ignore whitespace. Because with a file scope namespace, the only diff should be around the namespace. And in my case, because of the using statements, we did some cleanup here too. But that should clean up most of it. So always the ignore whitespace is an awesome toggle. Always keep track of it. I am in my day job, I'm often turning it on and off depending on what type of file I'm reviewing. So if I'm reviewing, say, a YAML file for a GitHub action, like what we did last week, I'm definitely turning it on because YAML's whitespace sensitive. C#, nah, I'm ignoring whitespace. I don't care. I may notice it, like in some of the code changes, if things aren't indented properly, and then I may toggle it back on just to look at exactly what they did with their whitespace and why it looks funny. But aside from that, like usually that only comes if like people have different like tab and space settings, and those should be handled in an editor config anyway. So that looks good. That looks good. Okay, CS Proj, we added in some global usings. Yay, we love our global usings. Oh, I do not want to leave this change here. So let's just edit it right here. I don't feel like changing it. I'm gonna leave the switch to the options overload because I think it's cleaner, but I want that to default to debuggable. So if anybody else is using it, they get that. XAML test mixins, file contents are unchanged, just whitespace related. Okay, we can include that. Let's see. So that's the actual fix. And then so once again, ignore whitespace. Much cleaner. We should probably do some XML comments. We should probably go add some XML comments to some of these. That's probably a good idea. Let's see. So tree view assist. Let's just follow the same pattern that we did up above on here. So let's see. Allows controlling the visibility of the expander arrow on items on preview items that do not have any children. There, that'll be, we'll call that good enough. And then directory build props because yay! Okay, so fix and then auto code issue number. Changing the default behavior back to hidden. Adding a new attached property for those who wish it to be flat. Boom. Commit. Okay. And then here's the best part. So I haven't even pushed this branch yet. This is just local to me. Click, drag onto master, release. What? Oh, you got to do it on the remote master. There we go. Push and start a pull request. Why, yes, that's exactly what I would like to do. Now we'll push it to that one. I've got too many remotes here. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm just going to add a fixes pound 2618. Since I don't think putting it in the title actually does it, and create pull request. Oh, look at that. So smooth, so smooth, so smooth. 4.6, and then the pull request goes. Okay, so converting the default back to be hidden and added in a new attached property. Allow people to change that comment, and then that should, it's already in the milestone. Once that thing finishes, that'll close. Great. Great. Okay, what was this one that was double values? And the bound property is a float, but it works as expected when the property is a double. Tooltip format, including specifying precision this way. Ooh, that actually looks kind of nice. And the expected behaviors for values to align with it. So, bound property is a float. Well, let's start with the original issue. Issue when slider tick frequency changes is not an int number, e.g. 1/10. Value shown as near value. So yeah, so when you're on 0.1, that's what. So for people not familiar with it, in computer science, for those people who go through university, they'll teach you all about floating point number precision, and this is one of those favorite things that people like to bring up of fractions in computer science. So there's a couple common ones that people will pick on. 1/10 is actually one of the problematic ones. 1/3 is another one that's somewhat problematic. It's very difficult to represent it accurately. Let's just bump that up a little bit. So it can be very difficult because then you get into floating point precision problems where things may not round exactly correct. Let's see. So this fixes the problem by hijacking the tooltip format, which this is actually probably a worthwhile change as well, because we merged this. Yeah, it's useful to have. I completely agree. Only with a float. I did bind to a double, even without. I'm not sure if it's really, but it happens when the slider is nested in a tab item. That shouldn't make a difference to the slider's behavior, I wouldn't think. I wouldn't expect that to, at least. Here's the full copy and paste to reproduce. Well, that is highly convenient. What's interesting to me is this has a background of green. Nope, still there. Okay, let's take a brief look at this. Oh, what did you fail for? What did you fail for? Hyper namespace controls. Oh, the resource gen project failed. Okay, hang on. Let's fix that real quick. So that is actually one of the best / worst things about the directory build prop stuff, is it is directory based, not solution or otherwise. Let's see, MD resource gen, which I believe, is that not in the full solution? Tools. Rebuild. Did you not rebuild appropriately? So when you change things up at that higher level, it doesn't always know. Oh, so Windows controls doesn't exist here. Okay, so this is a great example of turning stuff off. Item group, because he would like to not have those using statements, but I really want them in pretty much all the other cases. So also a good example of here's the auto-generated files that it creates. We'll just turn these guys off. Boom. In fact, I think, can I do a globbing pattern to remove it? I think I can. We're gonna try and see what happens. So then rebuild that guy. Yeah. See, and this just, in my mind, this is incredibly powerful. Being able to leverage MS Build globbing patterns for controlling your global usings. That is cool. That right there. Now, I'm weird and think random things are cool, but let's see. Removing WPF usings from resource gen project, because that's all that project is it's useful for genning up like the colors and some of the other stuff. Okay, so that, okay, small detour. We'll let that guy go back and you should know. Okay, so let's see about testing this one. The dock panel isn't doing anything. This thing has, oh, it's literally just there for a background gray color. Okay, sure. We'll roll with this. So let's copy this. And then let's go, we want this. And yes, I'm aware I'm still on my side branch. That's okay for now. So this is specifically for sliders. Do we have a slider one in here yet? Nope. So let's add it. Sliders. Slowly getting them all added. Sliders tests. and then test base, clean up usings, do that doohickey, go public, go create me a constructor, pretty please. Okay, fact, public async task, foo sounds like a great name. Okay, so load XAML. Paste. Oh, that's going to be a problem. That's. Okay, so 1 second. Let me just make sure. I don't know what I have open in VS Code. Probably don't want to propagate out. Let's see. Boom. Okay, boom. There we go. Be big. Okay, and then we're just gonna do some regex level find and replace stuff here, and then replace them all. Copy. Undo, paste. There we go. Okay, so that makes me feel a little happy. Var grid gets await. And then we're going to do breakpoint there. And then this needs to be a grid because it needs to know what its root element is. It doesn't magically just know. Okay. So that should give us a reasonable guy to replicate with. And then I just want to go into that test base and turn off the Visual Studio attachment. And then we're going to debug the test. I will say, I do find this ability to just paste in some XAML and launch up a shell of a material design app with it in there already loaded is really, really convenient. Okay. Okay, so I don't know what the button does. Does it do anything? Oh, that's just a tab item. Look at that. It does replicate. Huh. Okay, so that is an obvious bug. So I'm curious. Okay, so let's take a look. Do I have Snoop open? I do. Come here, Snoop. In fact, I've got Snoop open twice. Close one of them down. Okay, so I'm curious to look at whether that's a tooltip issue or whether the value of the slider is legitimately off. The value of the slider is legitimately off. Interesting. Interesting. I wonder if this is so let's do a second one. Oh, stop running for a minute. Let's see. Stack panel. We're just gonna slap a second one of these guys in here. Paste, and then but I want to keep everything the same except for I want the style default. I'm curious what happens in this situation. Because I don't believe we're doing anything in the library around... What? Did my test crash? Did I have invalid XAML somewhere? Could not register on... Slider timer interval. Oh, I have duplicate names, don't I? 2. Debug test. Because I do suspect that there is a... Okay, so we have both of these. So let's find a failure point. So there. So, and this one... Okay, so now let's take a look at this and see, because I assume if I look here, if I look at the slider, the value is off. Okay, perfectly valid. Okay, so this value is legitimately... So this, because this one doesn't have the material design library affecting it. So, yeah, that sort of makes sense to me, simply because I didn't think there was much that we were doing in the library itself. Let's just minimize that. Let's go take a quick look out in here. Slider. That does not line up. So no logged issues in the repo. WPF slider rounding. This might be here. Let's see, so tick placement, because exactly the properties that we are setting is tick frequency and tick placement both. Okay. Tick placement doesn't strike me as a big issue. It's more likely tick frequency. That's the default is 1. Okay, tick placement possibly must set to be an value other than none for next ticks to appear. Great. Start and continue until the value of maximum property is reached. Interesting. So this is the same. Snap to tick enabled. I assume we were setting that to true in our test. Yeah. I'm wondering if it's just simply not possible to do. Can I? I'm wondering if this is just one of those cases where the value is not representable. Because I'm guessing when this gets set, well, let's track this down because we can probably catch this. Interesting. So if well, how would we, if the assignment is occurring inside of the slider itself, it would have to be inside of here. And it would have to be on a value assignment on thumb drag completed on value changed. kind of like to look at the code for this. Let's see, I could do it on GitHub, or I think I can go here and get it. Slider. And on value changed is probably going to be down near the bottom again. I saw the update value. Snap to tick. Oh boy, so if snap to tick is enabled, is close is greater than the tick frequency. If the tick frequency is greater than 0, choose the closest value between previous and next. Snap to next. So this is next and previous. So if ticks is not, use it. Note that the ticks may be unsorted. Okay, so they iterate. In our case, I believe we will have ticks. So we're going to iterate through each of the ticks, and we check if we are close, or some value of r close. And if so, we just return value. It's interesting that it returns value and not tick. That's potentially the bug there, is it's returning value, not tick, if they're close. I guess let's just double check on our... Let's check on this guy and see if the tick collection has what we expect. Because if it doesn't, but I have a sinking suspicion that what we will find is that the tick collection actually has what we expect. So show me ticks. Oh. Count of 0. I stand corrected. We do not have ticks. Okay, so let's go back and double check that code again. So if we do not have ticks, boom, boom, boom. So let's see, we do not have ticks, so we don't hit this if. We go to the else. If tick frequency is greater than 0, which I think we concluded, tick frequency is greater than 0, great. Then it is minimum plus math round value minus minimum divided by tick frequency times tick frequency. That is a lot of math. That is a lot of math that I don't feel like doing in my head. So, let's see. Where's my debug Windows? My C# interactive. There, that one. Boom. So we're just going to plug some values in for each of these. So we're going to go var previous. Okay, so let's just look these things up. So I want to know what minimum is, 0.2. So this guy here becomes, actually what we can do is this. Var minimum, it's 0.2. Done. Copy, run. I'm gonna move you guys up so I can actually see this whole thing down here. Bring you up, great. Okay, paste. So this is gonna be, let's see, and we're gonna set value to be, that's not a failing value, 0.6. Let's go with var value gets 0.6. So we're going to assume the right value is being passed in. Start with that. Okay. And then we're, let's see, value, tick frequency. Var tick frequency gets 0.1. Now we should be able to run the equation. That's going to grab me var previous. Let's look at what that is. So that's interesting. Okay. Which we aren't getting that value. So that seems to imply that we're landing on the next case. And then next is just this. We come back here. Paste var. Oh, it wants maximum as well. So let's get maximum. Maximum 2. So our maximum gets 2. And what is next? Wow, so that's interesting. So both previous and next are wildly inaccurate. Huh. That is not quite what I expected. And so this does a whole bunch of greater than or close, and we don't actually care what the implementation is because at the end result, value is just going to get moved to either next or previous. So the only way this works nope, jump me in. The only way this works here is if can I look at, you not have a, there we are. The only way this works is if update on value changed. On value changed gets invoked here. But this is just overriding it. Passing through to the base. Update selection range, element position, and size. This does a whole bunch of stuff. Where does snap to tick get invoked from? Update value. So this just forces it between the min and the max based on the snapped value. So we know the return from this has to be the value from here. So the return from snap to tick has to be the 0.6001. And we know the if is what's being hit. Previous next. And even though those values are set, they get thrown away pretty quick. Interesting. Let's see, move value to tick. I'm wondering if this is just going to tick number. Times tick frequency. Yeah, see, this is what concerns me is Find the tick we're at. This increases by 1. This can't be... This division and multiplication appears to be problematic. So I think this is still going. Really? Oh, I was going to say. What? Refresh. Oh, okay. So it was just, okay. Great. Squash merge, squash merge. Okay, delete branch. That's in and fixed. This is in and fixed. Okay, but I think we're going to clean up the other one as an out of scope. Good, you're closed now too. Slider. Let's see. I don't believe this is an issue with this library, and instead related to the slider control directly. If you remove the material design slider style and investigate the value property snoop, you will see the same values here. There. Comment. I'm going to leave it open for a moment because I usually prefer to make sure that the original posters see the result, but I think we're going to drop, I guess we can leave bug because it does feel like a bug, but out of scope I think is appropriate because it's not something that I am going to likely fix inside of this library. There's various workarounds. Obviously there's the tooltip one, which works around the display of it in this library, which is fine-ish, but the original poster is correct. It doesn't fix the underlying problem of the value being off. If this were my app, I would probably just bind the value to a view model and then coalesce the value in either a value converter or maybe in the view model directly and just round it to the nearest tick value. That would probably be my approach, especially knowing that double floating point precision isn't perfect. It's far from perfect. And it's very difficult to get things right. And just knowing that there are certain values in here that are problematic, I think that one's going to drop. Okay, so now just down to the hard ones. But I think from there, I may actually wrap up about 10 minutes early tonight. So hopefully people found that helpful. I do appreciate everyone filing and stuff. Real quick, if we've got 10 minutes, let's just check some of the... Oh, that's the wrong repo. Let's just check some of the discussions. We might be able to answer some of these discussions really quick. So let's go in here. Just take a look. So filter, unanswered. Let's see. Disable effect when cursor is on top of a button. This one might be an easy answer. Effectively, they're asking for, can I disable the ripple on the button? And I think the answer is yes, but let's just confirm how that works. Button. Let's see. Ripple. So you could turn it off with the feedback property, because the feedback is the brush that's used to animate it. Is there a... I thought the ripple itself, there was a... I thought we had like a ripple assist or similar. Am I crazy? Am I not getting... I don't understand why you don't... Oh, because I'm debugging. Yeah, I thought there was a ripple assist. Is disabled. I believe you can just do this on it to kill it completely, but let's just confirm. What was the style that was used here? Icon button. If we go design demo, buttons. I don't think icon button is one of the ones. Oh, it is. Look at that. Let's see. Icon button play. Okay. So I think if you do ripple assist is disabled, true. And I think that will kill it. Why are you... Visual Studio. Don't be dumb. Why are you confused? Set a startup project. Set a startup project. Okay. That seemed a lot harder than it needed to be. Come on, go. So it's the play button that we want to confirm it with. Buttons. Let's see, play button. I think this is the one that we disabled it on. Disable true. Oh, but it still shows on the hover. What is mouse over? Where's the icon button? Okay, so this guy comes in here. What is triggered on? Is mouse over, visible overlay. So on mouse over, visible overlay comes in here. Ooh, that is not actually disableable. So if you're wanting to get rid of it altogether, is overlay used anywhere? Just for mouse over. It is just for mouse over. And the problem is you can't just kill it by changing the foreground. Because technically you could change the fill here. Well, okay, so hang on there. So let's try this. So we could do foreground transparent, and then do foreground dynamic resource. What was the default that it was using? Was it just inheriting it all the way down? Look like it. So that's going to be material design. No, it's the medium background. Why am I blanking on the name of this? It's the same one in the Windows style. It's the medium one. Flat button. Foreground. Primary hue brush mid. That's what I want. So we change that there. Change that there. And I think we'll double check. So that we may get the ripple back because I just turned. Oh no, the ripple assist is still there. Hang on, where did I change this? Now I'm confused. We can check it in the. Yeah, so this one here has it overridden. Let's see. But I didn't add the disabled to it. where the heck did I change this? Let's see. Where the heck did I change that at? So let's go here, here. Line 577. There. So we can do that. And that now gives us the behavior mouse over and hover. Not sure I would like that myself, but we can turn that off. And then you can still get the ripple on click. So we can answer this question really quick. Present, there is not a great way to do it. However, you can work around it by doing the following. 1, set the foreground to foreground on the button to parent. This will effectively hide the mouse over effect, but also hide your content. 2, to make the pack icon show up, set its foreground property to, and we'll just copy in that code. Boom. Let's see. 3. Optionally, if you want to disable the click animation, you can also set the on the button. Something like this. Then just grab that XAML. It's a picture's worth 1,000 words. Oftentimes, preview that, make sure it looks reasonable. Looks like what we want. So, answer question. There we go. Answered a question. Helped out. So, once again, I do appreciate everyone who has been helping out on this library. I've been seeing a lot of people jump in, answer questions, provide feedback. The people who've been going through and providing just issue testing. That's for those people who missed last week's stream. I was working on a GitHub action to automate the process of picking up all of the contributors to a release, because the auto-generated contributors don't include people who comment on issues, and in my opinion, that's pretty valuable as well. So thank you both for coming and helping out. Hopefully, Ross Nelson, that was useful for you. If you have more questions, always feel free to post them. I'm always interested in answering questions, because if one person has a problem, there's probably at least 4 or 5 more people who have the same problem and are just not willing to speak up. So definitely appreciate it, and don't take the lack of unansweredness as a lack of support. It's just so many hours in a day. I do want to attack some of those more complicated problems and see if we can get those dialed in and fixed. So with that, I'll say thank you very much. Happy coding. See everyone next time.